What's up everyone, and welcome back to another Oxygen Not Included experiment video. Today, we're messing around with hatches and morbs to see just how much I can get out of each hatch and or morb. And yeah, basically this is for the base I'm doing on stream, where it's based off critters, trying to be 100% sustainable off critters and nothing else. It's a real challenge, if I must say. But yeah, let's jump right into it. So I've already kind of gone through all of the waiting and experimenting part because it's kind of boring to watch. But we found out some interesting things. Let's go over the hatches first. So hatches will produce 50% of what they consume each cycle as coal. That goes for wild and tame hatches. Doesn't matter. They're both the same. They consume the same amount of material per kilogram of coal. So wild or tame, you're going to be feeding them the same amount per kilogram of coal. The only thing that changes is the amount of calories they burn. Now, wild hatches, it does not list the calories, so I don't know how much wild hatches burn. I know there was a mod that shows more more detail on some things, but I don't think it shows the animal calories consumed and stuff. And I didn't even try, but I did kind of wait around for a couple cycles while watching both the tame and the wild hatches, and the wild hatches eat significantly less. So if you're trying to get coal from hatches and you're trying to have that as a power source, then it's going to be very beneficial to have a stable and groom them and things. And yeah, naturally the tame hatches will be able to produce more coal per cycle, but still the same amount of coal per kilogram of whatever you're feeding them. The hatches will consume around 140 kilograms per cycle and produce around 70 kilograms of coal. I didn't test different materials. I only tested sedimentary rock because I don't think different materials are going to have a different effect, but I could be wrong. But it would be kind of weird if that was the case. Anywho, let's see here. So hatches, tame hatches that is, will lose 700 calories per cycle, as we can see right here. And I already said wild hatches are significantly less. So they'll burn 700 per cycle. The maximum they can store up at one time is 7,000. So they'll only eat when this calorie number gets to 6,300, and they can only eat once per cycle because that's how long it takes for them to burn down to that amount. That being said, if you do have hatches who have like 2,000 calories stored and you feed them a bunch, they will produce like a lot more coal because they ate more. But eventually you're going to reach that cap of 7,000 and you're only going to be burning 700 per cycle. So you're only going to be able to produce the 70 kilograms of coal. So with those numbers in mind, we know that it would take 8.5 hatches to generate enough coal to power a coal generator for an entire cycle. So an 8-hatch stable could generate nearly 600 watts of continuous power, provided they were groomed and fed. And they didn't have debuffs either. They would have to be no overcrowding, none of that, no gloom. They'd have to be groomed and happy the whole time and be fed the whole time. And yeah, we can't get the full 600 watts per stable, but we get pretty close. Because it comes out to 8.5 hatches. The maximum you can have in a stable is 8. So numbers don't work out as well as I would like them to. But that's still pretty good considering you can take the carbon dioxide generated from the coal generators, feed that to slicksters, and then generate oil from that, which I'll probably be doing videos on in the future. I'm not quite there yet, but I am working on that. Okay, with the hatches covered, let's move on to the morbs. So, morbs are some interesting little critters. First of all, they won't produce in a vacuum. This is something I was unaware of until today. But yeah, you can see I've got a vacuum here. These guys have been in here for like 10 cycles maybe, and they haven't produced a drop. So morbs need a little bit of gas or some sort of atmosphere around them in order to produce. So if you are going to build like a morb oxygen production system, make sure that it's not a complete vacuum. Make sure you leave a little bit of gas in there for them to soak up. They don't actually soak it up. I don't know why that is, but they need the atmosphere in there. And one thing I tested with morbs was based off what the wiki said, and some other things I've heard on the forums as well, is that limiting the I've heard this with puffs as well, but I've never messed with puffs and I don't plan to. But morbs, it was saying that if you limit them to a one tile movement, so like right here, they wouldn't be able to move. They'd just be able to, you know, they'd have to stand still and not do anything. It said that they would produce more. They would produce their maximum amount, but that is completely untrue. And I don't know if it used to be true at one point and it just changed since then. But it is actually significantly less production by limiting them to one tile. And no, they didn't get overpressurized or anything like that. I made sure to check all that. So for this larger area here, one thing I didn't do is check if they produce more in an even larger area, but that might be a thing. Hatches might have sort of like a hidden room bonus. I don't know. So this larger area here produced one morb, produced 4.8 grams per second of polluted oxygen for a maximum of 2.9 kilograms over a single cycle. So what the math works out to is it would take 21 morbs, well, it's actually 20.6 morbs, but 21 morbs to produce enough oxygen for one duplicate. What that means for my base, which I plan on having 8 duplicates in, is that I'm going to need 168 morbs to cover my oxygen. So that's a little ridiculous. I think I'm probably up to around 30 or 40 right now. So we're getting there, but a little trick with the morbs. If you don't know how to spawn morbs, first of all, you take an outhouse, you let it fill up to the point where it's out of order. So when this little arrow on the side reaches, ding, the red bar, then it's full. Nobody can use it. It has to be empty. So then you would like slap a door wherever your oxygen production is, right? And you would limit your duplicates. You would only limit duplicates that had the tidy skill on the X, so they couldn't clean out the toilets. So they use the toilets would stay full, and then yeah. Now the toilets will spawn one morb. And then what you have to do is either reload the game or disable them and then re-enable them, which will reset the morb timer. It'll spawn another morb. I believe like every 2 cycles it is. So every toilet can spawn a morb technically every 2 cycles, I believe. I'm not 100% sure on that, so don't take my word for it. Test it yourself. But yeah, that's how you spawn morbs. Okay, so the single tile, limiting to their movement to one tile, produced a measly, what was it? Oh, I guess I didn't do the per second because it's just 300 grams. Well, 299.9. So a measly 300 grams. This was one morb, one cycle, 300 grams of polluted oxygen. And no, it didn't become overpressurized either. And then over here, I did some original tests where I came out with 2 that were 100 grams and then 1 that was 300. So I'm not sure what happened to these guys here, but something must have happened. And then it also looks like morbs will stop producing or become like overpressurized at around 1,000 grams or 1 kilogram. If I lowered the polluted oxygen in here to 900 or even like 999, it would produce. I can show you that here, 0.99. So now we've got 990 grams instead of 1 kilogram. And this guy should produce, maybe. He's got stage fright. This always, oh, there he goes. Okay. I was about to look away, and he tried to do it right when I looked away. These critters, man, they're sneaky. But yeah, so morbs will become overpressurized at like 1,000 grams. So you're going to kind of have to be careful of that. Ideally, you would probably want more than the minimum amount of morbs for your duplicates. So instead of like 21 morbs, probably go like 22 or 23 morbs to be safe. That way, if I am over pressure, they're not producing like 100% of the time, then we have a little bit to make up for that. But yeah, that's kind of all I have for you today. So just to kind of recap here, one stable of 8 hatches can generate nearly 600 watts of continuous power via coal, and to produce enough oxygen for one duplicate, you would need 21 morbs. So 21 morbs per duplicate to produce the oxygen you need to survive. So very interesting stuff. I'm glad I have these numbers now, so I can go into my base and I can make sure I have the exact amount of morbs I need. And hatches are kind of whatever, but now I know how much power I can potentially produce just from the hatches alone, which could be useful. Anyway, that's all I have for you to do. That's all I have for you to do. Gibberish. Thank you for watching. I hope you liked the video. If you did, hit the thumbs up. If you didn't, hit the thumbs down. Leave me a comment if you had any questions, suggestions, or anything like that. Come check me out on Twitch. Link is in the description. All relevant links are in the description. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, all that jazz. You know, you guys, why am I... I'm just gonna full sellout, okay? I'm just gonna say full sellout. You know what that means. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day.